This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and this is my review for the series finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, titled One World, One People, and I thought this was a pretty good episode. I don't know if it's my favorite. I definitely liked the one a few weeks ago, where John Walker killed the Flag Smasher. I feel like that's still my favorite one, but I still think this is a very enjoyable episode. I think it was done a very good job. Well, it tied up a bunch of loose ends, but also set up stuff for the future of the MCU, which was all good. So, let's go into the episode. First, starting off with the new costume for Captain America, which is now Sam Wilson, and I'll pull it up on screen now. I think the suit looks good. I don't know, I just feel like I think that's throwing me off. I feel like there's a little too much white in it. But that's really it. I think it looks like a good costume. And it was really hard to find a good shot in the episode. It's probably the best one I could get. There's one other decent shot, but you couldn't see most of the suit because that's where, well, there are going to be spoilers. We see him carrying Carly's body, and that blocks off most of the suit. But I'll show that one too, just in case. I think it does look like a good suit. Again, I just feel like there's maybe a little too much white. Maybe it could replace it with a little more blue or something else, but that's really it. Let's now talk about the identity of the power broker. And it was Sharon Carter, which I feel like didn't really make any sense based on what they had so far. This kind of felt like a twist for the sake of twists. And although I did kind of see it coming, I said with what was built up so far, it feels kind of contradictory. But they explained a few things. But there's also a lot more plot holes built by it. And possibly she did take over from the previous power broker. But I'm not really that sure. And I guess it's fine, but that's just one of the few things that was kind of off in this episode. But besides that, the only thing I kind of had a minor problem with was Sam's speech, which I felt like was maybe a little too long. I don't think there was that many problems with it, although it did feel a little bit of like preachy for a little bit. It was kind of a little off to me, but I feel like the more problem was I felt a little too long. But I guess it's fine. I'm not gonna really hold it against the episode. I still enjoyed it, even with that. And maybe my problem was it being a little too long, and most of it being repeated again later on. With scenes with him, meeting with characters like Isaiah and more. But let's go back to the episode. I think it's definitely interesting to have so much depth in this episode. And it was pretty crazy what was going on. And I think that ultimately this episode was really good, but was really my favorite. Let's continue looking at some more plot points. I think that we had some good fights, especially between the different heroes and villains. And it was nice to see some redemption for John Walker. Here's the thing, I don't think that John's going to be a full-on villain, but he's also not going to be a full hero. He's going to be more of, let's say, a middle person, like anti-hero. So he isn't going to be a Superman or Captain America type, but he's also not going to be like pure evil, like the Joker or like Lex Luthor or something. He's going to still be a person with good intentions that maybe doesn't always do it in the best of ways. And of superheroes, he's probably pretty similar to someone like the Punisher, I would guess. I haven't listened to much of his content, but I do know he's more of a brutal hero. He definitely does questionable things, and I feel like that's what John Walker will be like in the future. I want to go over Zemo now, because so that's just a quick wrap up here, and I think it was pretty interesting how he got the rest of those flag smashers killed off, and they did a very good job of displaying and misleading us in that scene where we have the people being put in the prison truck and saying they're taken away, but we have one of the officers who seems to be loyal to them, and they're driving away, but instead of them escaping, the truck blows up, and we just see Zemo's butler sitting up there, watching, like an evil Alfred. And honestly, if you think of it, Zemo is sort of like an evil Batman, who's just not as good at fighting. Don't get me wrong, he's still pretty good, but he's not at Batman's level. But he's also great at planning and tactical thinking, and with contingencies. And I just think that's probably the best example to use of him. Also, I'm going to go into some other characters. I definitely think it was interesting with Carly. I think that I kind of agree with some other people that I saw online. I really feel like she felt like a leader and someone that one people would rally behind. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it was supposed to be that she was just a normal person. That's what got people to rally behind her. I also like how she was said to essentially not have been in the right, but had justified causes. She was a decent, sympathetic villain, but one that definitely goes farther and farther in what is morally acceptable. And her death seemed like it was necessary because if she was imprisoned, she would keep on attacking, and I don't know, she would be set up well to be a threat of a movie, so she kind of had to be taken out of the picture, which she was by Sharon. But one last thing I want to mention about her is I feel like it would have been a better twist if we didn't really realize she was the power broker until that end credit scene. Because think of how crazy that would be. We're watching the end credits, and I'll just say the scene before, as they're saying that she used Batroc to be able to manipulate her group in the Flag Smashers and put them in to try to help take him down. And she was just trying to trick him, and that's when Batroc tries to kill her instead, but she kills him first, and then we go to the same ending with Falcon nearly being in a standoff and could have died, but he was saved by Sharon, and I think it would be a lot more interesting and dramatic of a plot twist to do it if in that last moment we think it's all done, but we see that Sharon is actually a villain. I'm going to go over a few more of the characters before I go into the two main ones. And one last point I want to bring up about John Walker is that we don't fully know what Val has in store for him, because although she has been associated with Hydra in comics, she was also associated with S.H.I.E.L.D. and more, so who really knows? She could be a hero, she could be a villain, but either way, John Walker seems like he's likely to be a more minor antagonist going on in the MCU. Probably the same with the Power Broker, but John Walker would probably remember of either the Dark Avengers, possibly the Thunderbolts, or another team, but I'm not really sure about that. And it's time to finish off with Bucky and Sam, and I really like how Bucky was finally able to reconcile with what he did as the Winter Soldier and be able to get people to forgive and understand what happened. And it's definitely very touching to see him with the man from the first episode. And his name is escaping me for the moment, but it was great for him to be able to learn truly what happened to his son. And I think they did a very good job with that. Finishing off with Sam, I think he did a very good job developing, and it was very interesting to see him turn to someone who didn't want to be Captain America to a person who is Captain America and being able to accept all of this. He definitely did an amazing job, and I feel like it was very nice and touching what he did for the character of Isaiah Bradley, putting a monument to him in the Smithsonian, and it's great for his story to be known, and I'm definitely excited to see what he does as the next Captain America. I wonder if he's going to be getting his own movie. Also, I think I heard that Val is supposed to be in Black Widow, which was probably an intentional tie-in, but who really knows if we're going to realize who she really is in that. But either way, I feel like it's definitely very interesting. I wonder which way it's going to tie in. And I tried to mention one thing quickly that I might have mentioned earlier, but I'm pretty sure this is this year's finale. That's why I said that, because I think that's just only supposed to be in one season. I think the only ones right now that are confirmed being multiple seasons is, I think, Loki and What If, but you can't quote me on that, and please don't, because I'm not sure. But that's really it. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories, and may the Force be with you.